This one clickbait indicator will tell you exactly when the next market top is in. Well, welcome back to, in this video, the prediction is going to be strong today. We got plenty to talk about, especially on the higher term time frames. So we'll do something a little bit more on the fun side today. And of course, followed up on the short term and medium term time frames as well for Bitcoin and friends, as we are just essentially seeing that little green dildo party slowly but surely kind of populate itself, kind of trudging its way along. And with that said, I would like to wish you the best and the happiest in a little bit more of a sincere tone, because it is a nice little, well, Wednesday, a hump day. It's hump day. It's the middle of the week. Doesn't mean shit. Bitcoin trades 24/7. No rest for you, my friend. Anyways, into the Krown chain application we go, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. It is, by the way, 100% free, so take advantage of it. Anyways, with that said, we do see plenty of things on the top side of the dashboard right now, of which I want to point out, of course, fear and greed index stuck at 95. Market's incredibly greedy, as it should be, or I would say optimistic. Yes, optimistic, a little bit of a better word in that case. Also kind of aligns with Wyckoff terminology a little bit better, which when we're talking about market cycles, I do think is actually quite worthwhile to discuss. On top of that, we do see that Bitcoin dominance is just above 62 and just below 62.25%, of which we did see that come up quite significantly from yesterday to today as well. So that does suggest that Bitcoin taking the reins here, and we should actually take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart and see where we are kind of within this rotational sector. And on top of that, we do see that the open interest, I believe on yesterday's late day wrap-up video, we actually did see this kind of spruce back on up, but more importantly, still holding that critical $8 billion number and accumulating over time. So with all of that in mind, we're going to go into the market data tab, and what we want to see right here is we want to see this rally continuing alongside open interest increasing, and that is more or less what we do see as of right now. On top of that, we do see that the funny rate has come down below the threshold once again. However, it really is only FTX and Bybit as the odd man out right now, so I don't think that this is actionable in and of itself. And with that said, we've seen a lot of this spiky behavior over the last 3 to 4 days now, and none of it has really remained consistent. So I do not believe that this is actionable in and of itself, but it is going to play into the analysis a little bit later. So we do want to keep an eye on this. It is creeping up on the whole, and you can see that if we were to make like a moving average of the global funny rate and then plot it over time, or what you can see right here, see that it is starting to put in a bit of a higher low structure right there, coming out of like late January, that'll be, but that's still, going to take time to kind of come to fruition. Anyways, anything else that we want to check on right here before we get into the fun stuff? God damn it, why isn't it keeping me logged in? I should have my alerts right there. Anyways, let's see. Maybe I don't want to show my alerts. Maybe they're secret alerts. No, it's all good. I just haven't logged in on this computer, I suppose, yet. Just trying to see. Okay, anything else? No, I think we got just about everything there. Yep, so I want to park this one on the dashboard right here, and let's go into the actual price action charts themselves. So first and foremost, we're going to start off with our secondary charts once again. Quickly becoming the primary charts, actually. Oh, by the way, let me make sure that I'm recording, that my phone's working. That's good. I didn't get enough sleep last night. I don't know why. I actually had a nightmare for the first time in my life. Well, maybe not the first time in my life, but the first time since I've been an adult. It's like really weird. Actually, it's very fucking bizarre. I got to go read some Carl Jung now to figure out what the fuck's going on in my head. Let me just take a sip of this water first, and we'll get to the actual price action charts themselves. There we go. Carry me to victory, Mr. Water. Mr. Finish Water, the best of the best water. Anyways, once again, Bitcoin get another test down to the 9x benchmark average from yesterday. No structure was broken. Bad English. And overall, the biases on just about all time frames has been more or less to the upside. Now, more importantly, we were keeping an eye on the ADX DMI coming into this next tick today. And what do we see? We do see that the ADX continues to strengthen right here. DMI plus technically dominant, but again, want to see a consistent positive slope on this one. We got a one-off right here. We got a one-off right here. So what does that mean? You really want to see two consecutive ones to have confirmation on top of that. Now, at the end of the day, is this like a bearish signal in any way, shape, or form? No, not at all. In fact, if anything, this would just be building up or winding up a better resolution for Bitcoin at the end of the day. But I do think that it should be denoted that, hey, yes, that did not happen last night. So we're still essentially stair-stepping within this kind of rising consolidation, call it vertical accumulation, if you will. A little bit of a joke right there. But anyways, it's like if you have to point out your own joke, it's probably not a good joke. Anyways, into the daily MACD, what do we see? 49,000 bucks is the magical number to continue to rise on the histogram. Now, with that in mind, that would essentially mean that Bitcoin must close on new highs here for today, and in order to kind of keep the momentum back up, which is what you would expect as the histogram does start to trend back down towards the zero read. Now, of course, it still has quite some way to go, but what you would expect to see coming out of a consolidation like this, you'd expect to see kind of like a touch and go, a bit of a bullish reset is typically what it's referred to as. And I do want to also denote where the topside Toronto band is here, as it is going to be a natural short-term resistance if Bitcoin does take a leg up towards it, which would be right around about $54,000. Not really actually line up with anything else that I do have on my charts, but I'm curious what the 2-day says as well, because that one's going to be closing tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Let me just double check. Yes, we are on the 17th day of February, and so we have, and so that will be tonight, as that is the 18th. Okay, excellent. Topside Toronto band on the 2-day is where? Is 50, just above 50,000 bucks. You can basically just say 50,000 bucks. Same thing. So any sort of a closure above there, and I imagine that we will just see further continuation into a new melt up phase. So I do think that it's really, really important to be looking at the daily, 2-day, and 3-day right now, because you can see very clearly that Bitcoin for the last, I guess like the last half week to a week now, has really just been into consolidation, which is obvious, but because we're dealing with these massive numbers, 40,000 basically to 50,000, it sounds like more than it actually is. But when you put it within the context of the actual price action itself, there's really been nothing, all that titillating about this, except for, people trading on the lower term timeframes, as that is, where all the action has been happening. So as you can see right here, if Bitcoin does close above this region, I would be looking for the next sort of melt up phase. And in this case, that's going to be your next parabolic advance, most likely. 3-day, I believe, is doing the same thing. Yep. And also closing today as well, by the way. And if that one closes above 50,750, which is actually we even got higher than that on BitMexico, all the way up to almost 51,000 bucks on that last on the last drive, then that would be trending above the topside Toronto band once again. And of course, momentum also is down here are more or less in a bullish posturing. Like all of this is looking like a bullish reset to me as it stands. Now, of course, there always can be a counter narrative to this, and that's why it's important to have a plan for what to do if your main plan goes wrong. And if we go back onto our charts over here, it's still the same areas. I still look at this as your higher low structure. That would be your $47,000 region right here. That's your first warning signal. That's your first red flag, and the next red flag that'll really put a damper on this party, not just for the short term, but for the medium term. Whereas this one's only relevant for the short term, would be below this 44,300 pivot right here. So below 47,100. Even on a tick really, would start to imply some short-term bearishness and imply another move back down towards the $44,000 to $45,000 base. So that is a $2,000 to $3,000 move relevant to the short term. And then below this region right here, that's when the medium term turns around for me as well. And I would be looking for another $4,000 to $5,000 move to the downside, which would put Bitcoin somewhere around about 39 to 40,000 bucks. And then when I see it in real time, am I looking for either of those things to happen? No, I think that we're literally looking at a breakout in progress, like right fucking now. But of course, that's where that sort of narrative would start to fall apart and no longer be viable as a trade, at least in my experience. So with that in mind, of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Blah 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 blah. You already know you're a smart internet person, and you and what is it? I'm a strong, independent internet person who don't need no man. Yeah, that's right. You don't need no man. You don't need no man, but you do need a zer. You do need a zer and a her, because if you don't, then that is racist or something of the same sorts, which who even knows at this point? Who even fucking knows? I want to be referred to as a Bitcoin. I don't actually. Anyways, not enough sleep last night again. Anyways, let's go through the different time frames here. I do want to reflect upon the 4-hour for CMEs once again, as that was the one that was giving the buys, especially coming into the end of last week for further completion to the upside. Actually, that's the one thing that I did miss at the beginning of this video. Of course, always want to come back to where the weekly did close it out, because that does set in the buys for this week, as we did say, close above the topside Toronto band, likely another expansion phase, and of course, very likely, or not just very likely, but that would imply new all-time highs as well. Technically speaking, we actually already have new all-time highs, but is it done just yet? No, I would argue not, actually. Anyways, on CME right here, I do think that the 4 hour does show this ascending triangle actually incredibly well. Volume signature works out on this. Shape, smell, size, taste all work out as well. And I do believe that we're just kind of stair-stepping our way out of it right now. Volume signature has not confirmed a full-on breakout just yet, but you can use now the swing failure pattern levels to kind of judge that, and that would be below about just below 49,000 bucks. Let's say 48,900-ish region. So as long as you don't see any closures below there, more or less fine. And I would just be looking for this one to kind of float its little green dildos to the skies, like a chia seeds. Anyways, looking at our momentum oscillators right here, what do we see? So we did see the hidden bullish divergence that was confirmed, I believe, a day and a half ago play out into yesterday. However, we don't really see anything going on right now that's too titillating on the 4 hour RSI. It just looks like continuation to me in the way that it's postured right now. We do see that 4 hour historical volatility percentile is incredibly low right now, been trending down ever since 9th of February, and now we are down at the single digits, actually. In fact, right at a 2 read right now, and that would suggest that we're probably in a pretty damn good posturing today to have that move. Now, you probably, or you might be saying Krown, but have we already had the move? Seen as Bitcoin's gotten 1, 2, 3 tries into 50,000 bucks now, one of them being almost to 51,000 even on, I believe it was BitMexico. Yeah, it was BitMexico. Yeah, 59.80. And I would say, yes, those moves are relevant, but understand or remember that's not really lined up with anything else. And at the end of the day, that's not, except for psychologically speaking, 50,000 is not really relevant for anything that I'm concerned with, at least. So what we can do here is we can use our extensions to kind of judge the next sort of algo targets within this sphere. And of course, if we go back on to our charts over here, we already have them plotted on, I believe, and that would be suggesting the 2 spot extension right around about 51,500-ish region. So I would still highlight this area right here as a potential caution-ish area, as typically you are going to see a little bit of algo profit taking in a region like that. But as we've said before, I can't even recall the last time I've seen a reversal at this level in cryptocurrency land specifically. I think I've seen a couple in Forex, but very few and far between, very rare. And I would ultimately be looking higher after a quick kind of reactionary sell-off from that region. In fact, you could argue that we've already seen that front run at the $51,000 level for BitMexico specifically. Now, on top of that, we do see that the topside Toronto band is starting to line up with the 272. So I did forget to mark that off earlier, but that would be the next sort of target if this area does get taken out from an algo perspective as well. So I would be looking for a little bit of turbulence anywhere between the 272 and the 414, but ultimately it is the 618 that I'd actually be looking towards based off of this measure move right here, which actually don't even have done properly. Doing it so fucking fast that didn't even have it done properly. That's at around 58,000 bucks, and I want to mark that one off as well longer term. That's where I really do start to look at Bitcoin as potentially getting into a little bit of a problematic area, as that is going to be a heavy profit-taking area. However, in these more aggressive markets, which I would argue that Bitcoin's kind of in a parabolic advance right now, then you typically, or not typically, but you can see these spikes up into the 3 spot territory as well, and that's at about 62,000 bucks. So anywhere between about 58 to 62,000 bucks is kind of where I'm looking for on this next leg. How long does that take? I don't know, maybe a few weeks, whatever it ends up being. It's not really that as relevant as the general price levels are themselves. Now, of course, we do have a measure move coming out of this ascending triangle as well. Where is that pointed towards? That would be pointed towards just below 54,000 bucks. That sounds rather similar to the 2 spot 272 over here now, doesn't it? Just right around 54,000 bucks itself. So with that in mind, I would be still looking at that as as a general target for this ascending triangle right here. I'm curious what it's looking like on spot price action, because this one's been less obvious. I know a lot of people are probably charting this as a rising wedge. This is not a rising wedge right here. Rising wedges are statistically speaking more likely to break to the downside than the upside. Statistically speaking, they're also more likely to just not work out at all. Like literally not fucking at all. Very low hit rate in cryptocurrency land specifically. So I'm always very cautious when I see a lot of people talking about shit like that. But as it stands right now, what we can do, if you are looking at this as an ascending triangle, the right way to chart it would actually be like this with your measure move, and whereas that can be pointed towards. Or let me actually first make sure that I got this properly. And let's make sure that, okay, let's get fuck it, whatever. Would that be pointed towards? Oh, what do you know? $54,000. So there we go. And the key ingredient in this one was the volume signature, as we hadn't really gotten the obvious read just yet for that actually being resolved. So I would say that in this case, it is appropriate to actually move it up, and that would be putting you right around the $54,000 level. That is confluent with the 2spot 272 right here on our fib extension, and also the pattern target. So I do like all of that stuff together, and that's essentially what we'll be looking for after potentially a short-term sell-off from the 2-spot extension of just about $3,000 lower. It's like just $3,000 lower, which sounds, again, crazy, because a lot of people on this channel probably joined in 2019 when Bitcoin was literally trading at $3,000. Something to think about, man. Something to think about. Perspective at the end of the day. Momentums, what are we looking at right now? We are seeing that 4-hour Stochastic Momentum Index continues to rise to the heavens as long as about 48,800. So what does that suggest? That's basically saying that if Bitcoin is going to break out, it happens from this current posturing. And as you've seen over the last 2 to 3 days now, it's been building up like from low to high in that direction, meaning that if you are bullish on Bitcoin, it actually is, or it actually is kind of like on a bit of a ticking time bomb right now, and you need to see that ultimately just take off. Now, with that in mind, that is accompanied by 4-hour hidden bullish divergence right here as well. Jesus Christ, man, searching for my words today is difficult. I apologize. This is intelligible. But more importantly, with that, we do see both momentum plus trend-based momentum, both pointed up to the heavens right now. It does look like, and we do see this on expanding historical volatility percentile. We finally have a positive slope on this one for the first time in. I mean, realistically, the last time that we had it was, way the fuck back on over here in beginning of February. So that is a bit of a change of behavior alongside momentum, and of course pattern plus trend in kind of breakout posturing. I would say that, I am still biased to the upside, essentially. What are we looking at on the 3-hour? More or less the same shit. Building up from a higher number right here as well. 49,850 is the magical number on this one. What do we see on the bi-hourly right here? And I should also mention that 3-hour does have the same sort of hidden bullish divergence on RSI. What about bi-hourly? Same shit, 49.8 to the upside. Same read on bi-hourly RSI right here as well. And then what do we see on hourly? Same shit once again. Building up from 47,500-ish region. So actually the hourly kind of being a little more accurate within this whole sphere on the Stochastic Momentum Index specifically for this consolidation. But I look for the 4-hour to kind of give the next sort of medium-term time frame breakout, if you will. So with all of that in mind, essentially what I'm saying is that as long as Bitcoin essentially remains in a 4-hour closure above $49,000, I'd look for this one to kind of just pull its way onwards and forwards, giving a lot of grief to the people who are impatient right now. But at the end of the day, as many people here know, well, can you be patient if you're potentially looking at a multi-$1,000 move? Well, I would hope so. I would think so. Then again, this is crypto land, so it's the land of the impatient. Anyways, let's see, how deep into this video are we? 17 minutes. Do I want to bring this up now or later? Well, first let's go through the medium-term timeframes. What about the 12-hour right here? Again, should be reflected upon the fact that we did confirm hidden bullish divergence yesterday. Now, following through on top of this, again, just another thing kind of giving me a bit more of a bullish bias here, building up the bullish case. Long-term, very fucking constructive read. I mean, it's obvious in hindsight, but of course this guy right here too, coming off the lows on that regression, that was a pretty damn clear and obvious buy signal in late January. As things got reaccumulated at the $30,000 level. This to me in the short term looking very, 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 very good, and very likely does make a run up towards, at the very least, the top side of the bullish control zone. On top of that, we do see that daily is looking like what? It's looking, well, looking more or less the same as the 12-hour, but doesn't have the same sort of divergence. In fact, if you are looking at this as some sort of a triangular consolidation, yeah, I would say that that would be more or less correct. And again, the RSI is kind of like a line chart, and I actually think that this one is a little bit easier to read on spot price action than the price action itself, as this, a lot of people are probably putting this as a rising wedge, probably calling divergences, blah, 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 blah. But if you're looking at it from a line chart perspective on the RSI, you can see very easily that it's just a nice little consolidation right here. And that means that we could also kind of judge the next breakout on the RSI as well. If you start to see a higher high being put in above this guy right here, as that is your last, well, in this case, lower high, then that would be a change of behavior. And in this case, that would very likely be your first derivative for resolution. Looking for, well, looking for the next move to the upside, I suppose. So kind of just repeating a lot of things that we've been speaking about for like the last week to maybe a week and a half now. But I do think that this is important to kind of go upon because, well, as you can see, things take time, and a lot of people will get very disenfranchised by having to wait through what is seemingly sideways, boring bullshit. But if you do have a bit of a bit of a vision for the higher term timeframes, or just a bit of a vision for what's going on in general, then it looks more like an opportunity rather than boring sideways bullshit. Anyways, okay, so we got through the daily. Do we want to go to the 2-day? Probably it's more or less the same as well. I mean, not really getting anything too unique on this one. So what's the general feeling here? Yeah, pretty much bullish on all timeframes. Again, as long as lower term timeframes do not break below the same level as yesterday, 47,100. Zero things for me to be bearish about as long as that condition is met. If Bitcoin were to break below there, short-term bearishness implied for another $2,000 move to the downside. Below 44.3, that's where things do start to change around, and I do start to look for like another 10+% move to the downside on top of that. And then I'd want to see it in real time and see, kind of where we're at. But that, would certainly be tradable, at least in my opinion. Okay, so what I want to talk about now is something that I have been holding off on bringing up. I want to give major credit to the maker himself, although I think that this is a public indicator. But let me just bring up his name once again. Where are you, sir? There he is, Noriego. Sorry. If I'm butchering your name, sir, I apologize profusely. It's my very bad English tongue, or American tongue. It's just not set up to talk about things. Anyways, he's created this indicator called the Pi Cycle Bitcoin Top Indicator, which, as I can show you right here, shows you when we do see these two moving averages cross, the orange and the green tops in Bitcoin's history. And we actually have a pretty damn good history of this one. If we go to BLX index, you'll see that this one gets all the macro highs going all the way back to, I didn't get this one right here, but it was a little bit too early, but going all the way back to 2013 perfectly. Now, again, remember, when you're talking about moving averages, you do need a specific amount of history in order to like accurately populate them. And in this case over here, you're just not going to have it 1 year into the history of Bitcoin. But a couple years into the history of Bitcoin, once we get to 2013, or 3 years into the history of Bitcoin, starts calling tops actually rather accurately to, maybe not the exact day, but pretty fucking close. As you can see right here, it gives a signal, about 2 to 3 days before the actual top is being put in. Then a little bit later in I guess this would be more or less considered 2014 right here. Same thing. This one getting pretty much the actual high. Maybe, the wick high, yes, I did get that one. It does not work on the other side, as you can see right here. Definitely does not work. In fact, if anything, it kind of tells you about the bull traps, as you'll see in 2018. But once again, in 2018, what do we have? We do have another one of these babies happening right here. Now, this one happening, a day or two before the actual high gets put in. But again, just by it kind of coming down in that aggressive stance does denote that, hey, party's probably over. Anyways, I should show you where it is right now, and then I should show you what we're doing with it as time goes on. So as you can see right here, the moving averages are starting to converge on each other. That is, that is obvious, of course. That is going to happen. That is not a death sentence in and of itself. But think about moving averages as moving average. Think about moving averages as moving. Great one, Krown. No, what I mean to say is that what's going to cause a counter cross on these two guys or girls or whatever the fuck they are? Well, they essentially have to keep increasing their momentum over time in order to not cross. So as soon as you start to see the momentum of the rally start to fade, that's when this does start to, draw closer and closer to each other. And as you have seen in the past, these are pretty fucking abrupt, usually coming off of a single day major catastrophic meltdown. We're talking like a single day move of, 30+%. I mean, you can see this one in 2017. That was a single day move of about 35 to 40%. If we go back on over to 2014 over here, we have a single day move of, if I get that right, Jesus Christ, man, that actually goes up incredibly high. God damn. Another 30% right there. Imagine we go back to this one over here. Okay, am I doing this right? Hold on, let me just double check. Okay, yes. Okay, so this one right here, we have a 55% move to the downside in 1 day. Jesus Christ. All right, let me just double check on this one over here. I am a bit OCD about this stuff. Kind of depends where you take it from. I'd argue it's really this segment right here. That's, yeah, it's about 30% move. Then a year of just straight down. Love it. Absolutely fucking love it. Then we get to 2017. No, this one did not have a big first day meltdown, actually. Anyways, so what Caretaker has actually done is he's put a reverse function on this, which will show you at what price point would be needed in order for these two guys to cross. And if we go back to our more present stance, you can see that it actually take quite a bit, as currently the reverse function is like literally above, what is that, 10 million? Hold on, am I seeing this properly? No, that's 1 million. Okay, that's like 1,100,000 and a lot. 1 million and too many numbers for me to say. Sorry, my eyes are like literally killing me right now. Okay, that is 7 digits. So yeah, it's just above a million about. Anyways, so that's not happening like today or tomorrow, obviously, but as you can see, it will naturally start to creep down as these two lose their momentum against each other, meaning that the green starts to lose momentum in relationship to the orange. That's what can actually create that. So at some point, we might actually be able to go a little bit deeper on this one, and kind of fit a few more pieces in there in order to kind of get that number, maybe fit like a histogram on it or something to kind of judge the momentum or the rate of change of momentum there. But now I'm just talking to myself because you don't give a fuck about that. Anyways, you can grab this indicator yourself for free. It's on TradingView, both the base functionality from Noriega or the one that I just showed you there from Caretaker with reverse function. I'll make a dedicated video for my long-term thoughts on Bitcoin and this next market cycle, where this will also be featured as well, and I actually have links to both those indicators in there as well. But I did want to show it off right here just preliminarily, because I do think that it does suggest, again, kind of where we are within the lifespan of this rally. Now, there's also something else that I want to show you here too. Now, you'll notice something very interesting in the sense that the reverse function, which is represented by this blue line right here, the further away that it is from price action, obviously the better, because once it crosses, that's when you get your cross. That's when, typically or traditionally speaking, the fun part's been over. Now, there's actually a bit of a rhyme and reason with this that I do want to point out right here. Now, I haven't spent too much time on this just yet, but I do think that this is something that I'm going to spend a lot of time thinking about probably over the next month or so. So I'll probably have more to say about it as I come to a deeper understanding of it. But as it is right now, I do want to just postulate this, as I do think that this is rather obvious, and I'm sure that it will come to a deeper understanding over time. But for right now, there does seem to be obviously an intersection between the percentage amount that the reverse function is away from the price action itself, and once it drops below a certain level, which I'll show you in a second, that is usually party over within like the next week or two. So what I mean by this is that, first and foremost, you want this to be as far away from price action as possible. So usually usually in like a healthy uptrend, it's like 98% away from the price action. You can see in this up phase right here, it's operating about 98.5% away from it for most of it, obviously. Now, here's the thing. Once you drop below, especially 90%, and I might even say 95, that's when, this one's actually 85 right here. That's when things are obviously like in their last sort of gasping efforts of that parabolic advance. See that this one's about 85% away, with about a week left in that rally. Now, let's see. I do want to see if there's like any sort of obvious areas right here. Yeah, this one's about 90%, but again, there's still plenty of rally left in that one. So it's more or less a signal of caution. Oh, good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Anyways, what do we see over here? We do see essentially the same thing as well, where once that function gets about, this one's actually a little bit less than 85% as well. So I don't know why I thought it was 90 earlier. Maybe I was taking it from a different area. But more importantly with this, we do see that once it starts to especially come down below, let's call it like 85 now, 85%, that's when you're really looking at like the last portion of that rally. This one's about 80% right here, and rally really starts to I mean, technically speaking, you know, you're really going parabolic at the last portion right there, but it really starts to, you know, drop off as far as this goes about at the 85% mark, I believe it is. And this one about 83% right there. Moving onwards and forwards, let's see how it operated in 2017, 2018. And you can see over here, you know, healthily it stays very far away from price action, you know, about 94%, as you can see right now. And, or sorry, as you can see in this portion of November with still like another month to go. But once it got about, yeah, in this case, about 75%. So I'd say anywhere between about 85 to 75 or maybe 80 to 75. This is what I need more time to kind of deliberate on, but you can see that there is certainly a relationship to that, and so there should be some sort of a warning to where that reverse function gets about, you know, let's just call it 80% away from price action. A healthy uptrending market that still has a lot to go, and it's not really worth even analyzing when the end is potentially going to be. That's going to be in the 90s essentially is what I'm saying. So with that in mind, let's just see where Bitcoin is at right now. And as you can see, with the reverse function all the way above literally fucking 1 million goddamn dollars, you can see that we are about 95% away from that level. So is the rally in jeopardy like right now? Is this, you know, are we looking at like the last 2 weeks of the rally right now? Unlikely no. Very unlikely no. But if we were to say rally up to an area where that would be 85%, right? Where would that even look like? First, okay. Oh my God. No, that number's too big, man. 143,000. Would be 85%. What would 80% be? Because we didn't even like, I mean, that was still like a couple weeks out with more to go. What does 80% look like? 200,000. So now we have multiple things coming in at 200,000. Man, that's gonna actually make for a really cool video. All right, so I'm probably just boring the shit out of people right now. Apologies, but I did save this for the TA nerd session. So hopefully not too goddamn boring for most people out there. Anyways. Like I said, I'll make a dedicated video for the very long-term look on Bitcoin, but I did want to bring that out today because, well, first off, Caretaker just published his reverse function on that one, and second off, I just think it's relatively interesting, and maybe you might find it interesting as well. All right, let's go check out traditional markets. NASDAQ, what are you doing? You are a little bit of a short-term sell-off yesterday. Would I still remain bullish on this one? Likely yes. Let's see, what is it for? Looking like, do we have any divergences building right here? Potentially, yes. If it does confirm a local low, then we will have hidden bullish divergence. But how would you confirm a local low? Not as it is right now, but a closure back above the 21 exponential moving average likely does do it. That's 13,780-ish region. If that does happen, I'd look for another extension back up, another $50 to about 13,850-ish region. $50 doesn't sound too much when you're trading Bitcoin, but in this over here, that actually is quite nice. Looking at SPY futures, looks like I had a little bit of a sell-off in the early morning hours as well, and basically the same sort of things present here too. We do see potential divergences present, but just like NASDAQ needs to close back above, in this case, I'd say about 39.35-ish region. If that does get met, I'd be looking for another retest of the prior all-time high, and very likely new all-time highs on top of that. Now, of course, where would this sort of narrative switch around? Trouble below about $3,900 on SPY futures. What about on NASDAQ? Trouble below about 13,630-ish region. If those conditions are met, I would be looking for a bit more of a medium-term downtrend. For NASDAQ, that would mean dip back down to about 13,450-ish region. For SPY, that would mean back down towards the 3875-ish base. But for right now, I mean, at least for right now, I still do kind of remain short-term, medium-term bullish, as we haven't really seen any traditional reversal just yet. But below those areas, I do start to change my opinion on that. So I suppose what we've been saying for like the last, I guess, week and a half now still goes, or at least I would still be going with it until proven otherwise. So that'd be my conditions for failure right there. Anyways, let's see. What do we have next? Do we have a little bit of Ethereum, Mr. Buterall? Yeah, so I do want to touch back on this. So I have been saying over the last couple of days that I did believe that Ethereum is leading. I don't believe that Ethereum is leading, actually, after looking at it a little bit more. The way that I should know this is looking at the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing right here. And with that in mind, this is obviously a lot more short-term, medium-term bearish on this one. I'd even say that the daily probably has a nice little dump off here. I'd still be looking at that 3.3 million Satoshi marker that we spoke about last week. I do think that it's kind of just slowly gliding its way towards there. But the question is this a macro reversal right here, or is this just basing another higher low before further liftoff? Well, there's one major thing with this one that I keep an eye on. I do think that you can still look at this as macro potential gonna pull through as long as it's above the 200 exponential average, as that is about just below 3.2 million satoshis. On the other end, technically speaking, you have broken structure to the upside. Now, the 200 symbol did reject things, of course, but that is likely to sell off on the first pass. That's just where a lot of bots and algos are going to be positioned. But as it stands right now, would that imply a full-on catastrophic meltdown? I mean, it has been a pretty bad, yes, absolutely. But would I be looking for like a full-on reversal back down to, the lows in the 2 million Satoshi range? That doesn't happen until we break the 200 exponential average right here. So I do think that right now would be a better time to be looking at Bitcoin dominance, just seeing what the greater whole looks like, because I am having trouble with that chart. And yes, the Bitcoin dominance chart, as we said yesterday, is bullish. I would be looking for this one to pop back up into the upper 60s, actually, anywhere between about 67 to 68% over the next month or two. Looks about right, as we do have a low being put in place right now. This would be confirmed with any sort of move back above the last weekly high. That's 64.76 right there. That would very likely inspire a move back up to about 67%. It's going to put a lot of downwards pressure on altcoins versus Bitcoins. Now, I do want to check out a few more altcoin Bitcoin pairings just in case. Link, sideways as fuck. Daily's bearish here. Daily's very obviously bearish. Bearish divergence as well. Although that technically shouldn't be right there. That's probably my settings. Let's see. What about Cardano? Yeah, short-term bearish as well. I'd be looking for a move back down to 1575. So yeah, we are seeing altcoins on the whole thus far trending down. What about dot BTC? I don't know what's this thing's actually kind of bullish here. This thing's actually still bullish. What about Theta? Yeah, coming down as well. Long term still bullish. Probably does try to bounce semi soon, but it does seem like altcoins on the whole are a little more angled towards the downside. So rotation's shifting back into Bitcoin here, and Bitcoin very likely to lead the party. And as you can see, Bitcoin actually back around 49,600, not too far away from that critical $50,000 number once again. Not that it means shit, but but my main point is that Bitcoin is very likely to be the first mover here, and keep an eye on it in this next little segment, as that is as I believe I was just straight up wrong about Ethereum leading, or maybe not straight up wrong. I think that it was leading up until about February 11th, February 12th, when it was making new all-time highs. Bitcoin was not making new all-time highs during that time, I believe, but now it's very obviously kind of trading a bit sideways and waiting for Bitcoin to make its move, and then I imagine it will pull through with Bitcoin, if Bitcoin, assuming that Bitcoin pulls through to begin with, but. Again, that is why we have those conditions set up, and I will go back now and we can do a bit of a wrap up. 37 minutes into this bitch. Oh boy, I did a bad job of making these videos shorter. All right, let's start off with the 2-day on this one. Yeah, do we want to start with 3-day or 2-day? All right, let's wrap this bitch up. Bitcoin on the 2-day going to have a chance to close above the topside Toronto band once again, of which that would signify the next sort of melt-up phase. In this case, our targets of the 2-spot extension for a short-term move to about 51,500 would still be very much in line. However, that is not the ultimate target for this. We do have a more medium-term target right around the 2-spot 272. Nice fib right there for some algo profit taking at about 54,000 bucks. That also is in line, I should say, with our measure move out of this as an ascending triangle, as you can see right here, pointed up north towards just below 54,000 bucks. So not bad. On top of that, we do see that the daily topside Toronto band is coming in where? Pretty much at that same level, just below 54,000 bucks. So that would provide a nice natural resistance right around just below 54,000 bucks, we'll say, for a short-term sell-off, similar to kind of what we saw on that move above 50,000 bucks yesterday. Now, do I think that ultimately things will stop there? Technically speaking, we do have the greater formation targets pointed higher. That would be more towards the $58,000 level at the 2618, and that is traditionally a more more historically relevant region for producing those greater pullbacks. And if I did to call things right now, I do think that is essentially where I'm looking towards, anywhere between about 58,000 bucks and 62,000 bucks, because I do look at this as more or less a parabolic advance, and in a parabolic advance, typically do spike a bit higher somewhere around this region right here. So let's just call it 60,000 bucks, give or take about 2,000 bucks. I'm still looking at that area. I have no real reason to change my analysis on this. I know that my analyses have been rather dry for the last like week to a week and a half, because it's just been, well, still looking at this area right here, because my conditions for the other side for essentially negating these biases have still not been met. And to lay them out one more time, they would be right here below 47,100 on a 2-hour or 4-hour total closure. That would make me short-term bearish. So as long as Bitcoin's above that level right there, I'm not even short-term bearish, and that would imply another $2,000 move to the downside, or actually more like $3,000 move to the downside. Short-term time frames pretty fucking frothy. However, medium-term time frame bias does change below this level right here. That's your 44,300-ish level, of which if you're using a 4-hour, yeah, 44.3. If you're using a 2-hour, just 44 even. And if Bitcoin does break that level to the downside, I will look for, you know, a much greater move to the downside, more than 10% move, somewhere between about 39,000 to 40,000 bucks, based off of that, and that I want to see it in real time. Now, until one of those two things happens, I'm not even remotely bearish at all, but I do think that's important to overlay the conditions for it. And at the same time, on the other side, I should also denote that we do still have that hidden bullish evidence playing out on the 4-hour RSI. I think that this is also confirmed all the way up to a 12-hour now. Yes, indeed it is. We saw that, I believe, yesterday or the day before. Actually, the day before. But I do believe that this one's still playing out right here. And then daily is obviously consolidating in a nice triangular fashion. If you do see the daily RSI take out the last high, that would be a pretty damn good signal. Another oscillator you can keep your eyes on that would notify you of this next move to the upside would be DMI ADX. So I want to see this get a positive slope. Everything else is in place. Everything else does look pretty damn good, but you know, formalities here, I suppose. And I guess I'm just generally bullish as I go look at caretaker ranges right now. Oh, by the way, caretaker ranges to the top side, 62,000 bucks. Very interesting on the daily. Hint, hint. But of course that is a daily, so it's not, you know, not really relevant for like today's price action. Hourly, getting that 47.5 level to the downside. Just basically in our top to the upside, so it's not really telling us anything that we don't already know. What about 4-hour? Same thing, same thing, 47,000 bucks to the downside. So I do like the influence there. It's just basically confirming what we've already kind of spoken about. So with all of that in mind, I do want to wish you the best once again. I'm gonna have to rewatch this video to find out how much of this is actually coherent. Like I said, a bit of a bad night of sleep last night, but still would like to wish you well. Take care, and see you soon.